Yeah.
Right, but he was saying, was it a punishment for the children? I said, I think it was just psychotic. Their psychosis, but he was saying, was the excuse, was it them being basically like punished or something?
No, it wasn't punishment. They actually used black kids. What they do was they put a certain oil on them. They send them out to attract alligators. You understand what I'm saying? And just use them to attract alligators. Should have the skin, whatever.
Right, but they hadn't had to have done it.
Right, exactly.
Where the picture?
Well, what they would do is they would tie
Right here.
But you guys, them six and coaches. Peace, peace, peace. You got a few people on?
Yeah,
You sure?
You said what's up?
Peace, everybody. Peace, what's good? We're here at Greenbrier Mall at Medu Bookstore. Of course, it's Professor Griff, Sirius Mindz. We got Hustle out today. Shane ain't in the building. Shane at work somewhere. Cheesecake Factory, wherever he. Where's Shane working?
I thought it was the
Cheesecake Factory or something. But we got Hustle in the building today, y'all. Sirius Mindz,
Serious
right? Soleil is in the building. You know all she can do is smile, Jay. we here, right? We here at Medu Bookstore. Did you get the Medu Bookstore? Did you let them know? Can you get that?
Let them know where we at. Got the Medu. Somebody said hey.
There's actual, yeah. Like cap shells are a form of currency.
Yeah. And yeah, different parts of the world, different things were used for each.
Let the people see. Lay out.
This was a gift just now. Nia, that owned the bookstore, Medu Bookstore, gave it to me. I think I've been knowing Nia for, let's see, my son is almost 28 years. As long as probably the bookstore first opened. And of course, you already know who this is.
You asking
Maybe
me?
she can tell me who this is.
I don't
You
know.
look like Moses, man.
Look like it
Harriet
do,
Tubman.
Harriet.
Okay, so I ain't know for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, but I'm like, I don't know.
Harriet Tubman said when she was asked how many slaves did she free, she said she freed thousands, but she would have freed thousands more if they only knew they were slaves. Most people didn't even know they was in captivity. Like the whole idea of Juneteenth, somebody got to explain that to me. No, maybe they got the in-office memo late, and they didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank God Chick-fil-A closed. Did you see that? Can you
Yeah,
over
seen
there?
that. Yeah, no more Chick-fil-A. More. Sorry.
So like, what kind of ingredients do they have in Chick-fil-A? Because that place be off the chain. Serious, man. They must put something in there, crack, something. But anyway, yeah, Harriet Tubman. All right, I'm going to put this, make this part of the archive.
Part of the, you need
So,
another
in
stand.
history,
You need
I
another
think-
stand for it.
Harry will probably have to go right here.
Mm-hmm. Right in there.
Right in here. But the reason why today we started it off with the slave shackles, pictures of our ancestors being lynched and tortured and castrated. All right, because the Black History Mobile Museum, this exhibit goes from slavery all the way to hip hop. This is not the totality of our history. Black history for Black people starts way before slavery, and it's way after hip hop. But notice at the end, I ended it off with "Make America Great Again," because we just going full circle. Because you could easily put "Make America Great Again" on this side. You understand what I'm saying? But as opposed to the castrations and lynching, we have slave shackles, which actually went around our people's throats, arms, necks, and ankles. There's another one that we normally have on the table. Of course, the average person would think this went this way. Sometimes it did, but it didn't. So what they would normally do is have to put it on you this way, and they would put it on your ankles. So you had to stay like this the whole day picking cotton and dragging that bale with you, so you couldn't stand up straight. You understand what I'm saying? And any time that you tried to make contact with white people, which wasn't allowed. You couldn't look white people straight in the eyes. You couldn't laugh in the presence of white people. All right? And this is some of the subtle things that y'all two may be walking down the street and find something funny and just laugh. Where if white people were present, you couldn't laugh. You had to run and find a barrel and stick your head in it and laugh. They were called laughing barrels. In some parts of rural Georgia, they're still there. Whipping posts are still around in rural Georgia. All right. So these are just some of the things. Hustle's gonna explain this to you. I had to Google this man's name right here to see who he was.
Yeah, the brother had me talk to him about it.
Right. And this was very important because he actually used this as an item to sell to finance his campaign as the governor of Georgia. And what he would use this for is to beat the law into Black people, to beat us into shape, so to speak. But this is the kind of history you're not going to get in school. You understand? So unless you look it up online on your own, that's the only way you're going to be able to get this. A lot of people online now are saying slavery never exists. So we actually show them the actual cotton. A lot of people never touch cotton. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe your t-shirt or your socks or your Fruit of the Loom underwear you got on. But I'm saying a lot of people have never actually physically touched cotton. You understand what I'm saying? And what's a bale of cotton? 100 pounds? I think it was 100 pounds was a bale. Right, well, we can easily Google it. But you had to pick a woman had to pick a bale of cotton a day. So whether it took you 12 hours, whether it took you 18 hours, you had to pick a bale of cotton a day, regardless. Pregnant, on your menses, whatever, you had to pick a bale of cotton. And then when you didn't, you got punished for it, irregardless of whether or not you're pregnant or not. They would accommodate you. They would cut a hole in the ground, shovel it out, place your stomach in it and chain you down, and then whip you.
500 pounds.
500 pounds. Can you imagine that? How much can you bench press?
About 140, 145.
140. Can you imagine a bale? You understand what I'm saying? 500 pounds every single day. So then putting that on ships upriver to New York, where they had the factories and things that were set up to take the cotton with the machines to actually make the clothes. So it was an industry, it was a system that they had set up. You understand what I'm saying? So, but they couldn't have done that without the 400 years they got out of us of free labor. You got a job? You had a job? You worked 8 hours a day? Was you tired when you came home? What if you worked double shift? 16 hours, no rest, no food, outhouse, whipped, no real rest, dogs all the time, noise all the time, your wife getting raped in the next room or in the big house. That's the kind of drama that was going on during that. And you still had to wake up 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 in the morning, when the sun came up to actually pick a bale of cotton. You say 500 pounds?
So what it cost?
500 pounds. So when you look at pictures like this, some people ask me, why are black people posing for this picture? I said, they're not black people. These are white people in blackface. You understand what I'm saying? Which gave birth to the Sambo. All right? Coming off of the book that they used to use in the educational system back then, 10 Little Niggas. When I was growing up, it was 10 Little Indians. You understand what I'm saying? But they changed the name. It's still the same concept. You understand what I'm saying? But actually, what's Little John's his group?
Eastside Boys.
Little John and the Eastside Boys. The two guys in the Eastside, that's the Eastside Boys. One is named Sam and one named Bo. Google it. The Sambo.
That's true.
But the Sambo is the black guys. If you study Eugene Adams' work, Africans in Asia, the Sambo is the black guys. But they turned that and flipped that around and made it something evil. So anytime you interact with black, all right, you feel bad about yourself. It lowers your self-esteem. So you don't want to grow your hair the way you grow, the way you wear it, which is natural. You understand what I'm saying? We had to dye it, fry it, and comb it to the side. I'm not sure if anybody had a perm, but I'm just saying that was the reality. Anytime we interacted with anything natural that's black, we hated it, thus hating ourselves. And even when I was growing up, I don't know when y'all was growing up, anytime we used to Jones, snap, crack, or talk about something, we always put black in front of it. You black, MF, this, that, or the other. You understand? Because it was a way to beat people down. Y'all know who these two characters are?
Yeah.
Well, this is a dipping stick. Now this is what, maybe 8-10 years ago? Well, it's a takeoff of this. And they actually sold these items for people to blacken up with. You understand what I'm saying? And vast majority of these items, Khalid El Hakim, curator of the museum, has 7,000 pieces. All right? I have probably about 200 today. There's probably, how many pieces on the table? Probably about 100 on the table today. But it stems from slavery all the way to hip hop. I asked him one time, what are the pieces that you won't put on the table? All right? And he had mentioned the fact that he won't put the pictures and the artifacts of the human body. That they've castrated us, cut the penis off, cut the ear off, cut the breast off, and preserved it. You understand what I'm saying? Kept it in jars. And those are the things that he won't put on the table because, you know, it brings back certain memories. You understand what I'm saying? But he has 7,000 pieces he's been collecting for 26 years. Khalid El Hakim. This was a common thing. That we couldn't use the same bathroom as white people. You understand what I'm saying? Separate water fountain, separate bathrooms, separate accommodations. Even sometimes when you see old pictures of people in the church, we were not allowed to sit on the main floor of the church to get the so-called good word. We had to sit in the balcony in the back. And then when they want us to serve white people, they gave us white gloves. So you see that in the church today. What do they call them? Ushers? The ushers with white gloves on. You understand what I'm saying? Because we weren't allowed to touch white people or anything associated with white people. All right? Because we were supposed to be animals and disease and subhuman. All right? And that's just the dynamic of it. You know, pictures like this are very real. But let me ask you something. I don't want you to look at the picture. I want you to look at the expressions on the faces of the people in the picture. Now, these people's relatives are walking around today. They have the police officers, the judges, the district attorney, the school teachers. You understand what I'm saying? And this is a very, very real dynamic. So not only did they lynch us, all right, that wasn't good enough. They took it and had to burn the body. All right? And before they burn the body, they cut penis off. They'll cut your ear off to save us souvenirs. You understand what I'm saying? But they totally wanted to destroy black people. Now, in this picture, before there was a concept of American, these Irish, Polish people, German people, Italian people. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to keep that particular thing in mind. And of course, we already discussed this, the whole alligator bait, where they should tie the rope around a little baby's leg, put him in the ocean, have him struggle to get out of the water, attracting the alligators. When the alligators come, they just yank the baby back. Alligator bait. You understand what I'm saying? You look real close. There's a black man tied to a post. So then when you got out of line, they would tie you to this thing called the whipping post. All right. And the person that would whip you would be called the cracker. So when they called the cracker was the one that cracked the whip. So that was his name. It's not a derogatory term for white people. It's just that that was passed on. That when you called the cracker to whip the so-called black person that got out of line. And this is a very mild picture. One of the harsher ones, they would call everybody in the village, everybody in the town to come watch this black man being whipped. And when you travel through rural Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, you still see the whipping posts. They're still there. Now maybe they may have decorated them, put some flowers and shit, some flowers and stuff on it. But nonetheless, they're there. You just gotta recognize what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Like the term hunky.
Or redneck.
Well, what happened with the redneck was white people started getting hot and they formed a union because their neck would turn red. They formed a union, and the way to identify the union member was to put a red scarf around their neck. So they became a redneck cracker. You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. Hold on. If you look real close, what do you see when you really look into the picture? Yeah, this is Niggerhead. This is a place called Niggerhead. What's Niggerhead in? South Carolina? Texas? Can somebody Google that real quick? Niggerhead. I saw somebody in the Sirius Mindz or there's nowhere Niggerhead. Yeah, they just called it because it looked like a nigger's head. This their thinking. All right, Niggerhead Mountain. And what they used to do, like with Stone Mountain, right down the road here, is they used to have rituals centered around fire. You understand what I'm saying? Because that was their thing, to invoke fear into black people. Of course, you'll know the stereotype of the watermelon. But with this, they used to have seed spitting contests. They see who could spit the seeds. But if you really think about it, watermelon is nutritious. I don't know why they associated it. They associated it with black people simply because of the thick lips. You understand what I'm saying? And they say with our thick lips, we like to eat watermelon. Exactly.
It's a watermelon up from Africa.
Exactly. So, but this table is normally 4 or 5 tables long with information explaining. Of course, I don't need to explain the Ku Klux Klan. It's the noose, but we always say the swastika. But it was a whole other people that suffered under the swastika. And if you really look at the swastika, it's actually flipped around backwards. It's a sacred symbol. So they always take our sacred symbols and they use them for demonic purposes. Like the cross is sacred, but when you put the white bleeding Jesus on it, then it becomes something different. You understand what I'm saying? We have to understand that dynamic. But this table would be about another 4 tables long. And then it gets into a whole other area in black people's history. Y'all remember Dick Gregory? Dick Gregory wasn't that serious individual that you see on YouTube today. Dick Gregory was a comedian. He was a jokester, and Dick Gregory ran for president. You understand? So I don't think he won, but yeah. But anyway, give it to him, but he won. But so this era, they would really like for us to forget, because this era ushered in that rebellious kind of protesting, we're gonna raise our voices. Let's take a picture of me. She got 3 of my books. She's opening up. Symbology, Psychological Covert War and Hip Hop, and a new book I put out called The War of Tapestry.
That one got some.
And you have them in stock in there, right? Oh, okay. Let's give me a round of applause.
Shout out to the artists.
Right.
So how many people remember Elijah Muhammad? Or read about, or studied, or saw it on YouTube? Okay, well, when you think about the time period that Elijah Muhammad came out, you're talking about the 30s. What was happening in the 30s? Exactly. So we have to understand the time frame that Elijah Muhammad came, and then what was Elijah Muhammad saying. If you read some of the stuff and just go through the list of what Elijah Muhammad was talking about, in the 30s, you saying the white man's a devil in the 30s to his face. Yeah. I'm gonna let y'all process that for a second. In the 30s. Some people were scared to say it now. Didn't want to say it in the 60s, but he was saying that back then. And then you bringing black men together, cleaning them up, putting them in suits, establishing businesses, schools, factories, farms, owning your own land, and you got a military behind you, and you doing international trade with different governments and that kind of thing. Elijah Muhammad was more feared, more so than Dr. King. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to understand the depth. But what disciples can you name that came up under Dr. King? Anybody that took his legacy and passed it on?
Wow.
No disciples? We can't say Mrs. Jesse Jackson. He was the one that got him killed. But anyway.
You can't even say
She ain't gonna even get into that.
she got the Baptists because they were more passive about the agenda.
Yeah, but even the preachers and pastors and reverends in Georgia didn't support him.
Right.
Right. So I'm asking you about his disciples. You can't name one. Who are the disciples of Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? There's about
Right. We
Minister
get
Farrakhan,
right. Malcolm.
Muhammad Ali. We can go on and on. All the ministers that y'all never met. All right, Jeremiah Shabazz, Yusuf Shah, and all these other ministers. You understand what I'm saying? And the reason for that is because this information was passed on, as you can see in this picture. Sitting having dinner with Muhammad Ali.
Somebody
he went
said-
from turning his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali.
Somebody said his Martin's kids didn't even live out his legacy. Continue
Right.
to
At
what he
least
was
carry
doing.
on the dream. Something. Right, exactly. Something. But this is a picture of Malcolm, of course, you see on the cover. This is Malcolm with the beard. When Malcolm was in the Nation of Islam, for the 12 years that Malcolm was in the Nation of Islam, he was clean shaven. All right. People don't realize Malcolm was only out of the nation for 1 year and they assassinated him. But during that whole period, they had set Malcolm up and infiltrated the ranks of the Nation of Islam. That's how come you got some crazy people on YouTube saying that Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan had Malcolm killed. We don't even want to mention our names right now. Anyway, right. So when we get to this period, we try to add a little music, and even Michael Jackson in his last days was revealing some of these people, Illuminati and some other people. You understand what I'm saying? But what do you notice about the Michael Jackson little segment here?
He transformed through this.
Transformation of this Michael, right, to this Michael, the nappy head Michael, not the one that was chasing rats in the movie Ben, to this Michael, ultimately to this woman. I mean, this Michael. This Michael.
He said not this woman.
All right. So when you look at it, you got actually say to yourself, okay, this man has made a transformation. Now listen, the whole argument about vitiligo and all this other kind of stuff, y'all can buy into that. I'm just cut from a different cloth. You understand what I'm saying? This had more to do with the psychology of self-hate, more so than some disease that someone had. Because you can look at what's the chick in Africa selling bleaching cream, Black China. Who? Yeah. Oh, she was
Oh no, she did that.
She cleared out her entire Instagram and put a picture of herself bleached. But it was to cause that controversy and to have people actually talk about it. Yeah.
So let me ask you, so the form, I'm telling this young man, he asked me about this piece here, which is a form of currency that was used for purchasing. They call it the manila. The manila. And also the cowrie shell was used as a form, it's just metal. Yeah, and also the cowrie shell was used as a form of currency at one particular time. But when we get to this, how many people are young enough and old enough to remember what this is? How old are you, bro? 40. So your mom and dad had these in their car. 8 tracks. 8 tracks. You can only get 8 songs on it. Unlike your phone, how many songs you have? 1,000? You can hear they really want this. You understand? Yeah, you have to rewind it. There's something to play this. You understand what I'm saying? So, Muhammad Ali being one of the disciples of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, of course. How many people remember Angela Davis?
Yeah.
And this is that period of time where people were speaking out, and protesting. You understand what I'm saying? And this is a very real dynamic because these were students that were in college, some were in high school. You understand what I'm saying? Exactly. But getting charged with certain crime and going into court and defending themselves at that age. Can you imagine that? So even the dynamic and the landscape of how we protest today is vastly different. You understand what I'm saying? They were not only holding picket signs up in front of the building, they was going in and challenging these people. You understand what I'm saying? And that was a real dynamic. Maybe one song that Aretha Franklin was known for. She said, change. But respect is the name. You understand what I'm saying? What is respect? If you break the word down, the R-E means to look back, to go over, to do again. Spectacle means to look, to see your spectacles, your glasses. So all Aretha was saying was look again. You understand what I'm saying? And let's start showing some respect for one another. She was the queen of soul for a reason. All right. Let me ask you something. Can any white person be the king of the queen of soul?
That's what I'm like, wow. Wow.
So you can't. I'm gonna skip over that. How many people know this man is right here? Kwame Ture. What was his government name? Stokely Carmichael. All right.
Wow.
This brother just down. He was one of the ones marching with Dr. King and the other brothers back in the day. But instead of getting the water hose and the dog sick on him, he was like, look, black power for all black people. You understand what I'm saying? Power to the people. So the whole idea of putting up your fist was originally power to the people and not black power. You understand what I'm saying? It morphed into the black power thing. Now this section right here would probably have been another 6 tables with all the information that could have been put on this table, because Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali are one of the ones that we constantly see every year during Black History Month. But there were some other brothers and sisters that fought, bled, and died to see us through this period. We went from slavery all the way through this period, Jim Crow period. All right, we went through the resistance period. All right, and there's a whole section missing of all of the poets that came out at this particular time, way before hip hop. There were some poets that gave birth to hip hop. You know names on them? Bill Stadler, the Watts Prophets. Who else? Last Poets. All right, Nicky Giovanni.
Yeah,
There's a whole lot of poets that came. Gil Scott, that's right. So by the time hip hop came in, who was this man right here? Every one of y'all with this picture. Who's this? I thank y'all for coming. Really appreciate it. Nah, that's Cool Herc. He's the father of hip hop.
That don't look like it. I'm like, that don't look like it.
But that's Cool Herc. Because I think coming up from the islands, playing this music loud, being one of the ones that was instrumental and just going to the parties and playing the great beats. You understand what I'm saying? He became the father of hip hop. Later on, someone gave the name hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? From a rhyme that was actually stolen from another MC and plagiarized by the Sugar Hill. So one of the first songs y'all probably heard was hip hop. You understand what I'm saying? And it branded the whole genre. Which is higher infinite power healing our people. All right?
Say it again. Say it again.
It's higher infinite power healing our people. Of course, y'all know Public Enemy. Now, this is a young Professor Griff. The one that she met in 1989.
And the one I met in 1980.
Right? All right. Yeah, I ain't gonna talk about this right now. We'll get back to it. But this picture was taken in Jamaica, Queens, on the E line and the F line. Yeah, on 179th Street.
You see the backside.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the picture you gave me.
Oh, okay. What was it, Germany? Where in Germany?
Cape
The
Town.
second person from Germany, right?
Cape Town.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Way in Germany. Now, these are actually really, truly rare collector's items. You might find all of these collector's items, but this especially because no one even knew that someone was documenting hip hop through comic books. And someone did it. It didn't necessarily take off. And now these are rare. You understand what I'm saying? Public Enemy comic book. Lady walked up to the table. She said, "Damn, right on."
I know, right? No, man, go back to the first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Exactly. So Right On was one of the magazines that documented the story of hip hop. Like what magazine is now documenting hip hop?
There's some small ones. There's some small ones. Excellent. Oh yeah. Right. All my posters.
What's so ironic about this? Even back then, they were talking about the culture vultures. Yeah, Dame Dash talking about the culture vultures today, but even back then they were talking about the culture vultures. Who were the culture vultures?
Right.
Nobody in the back. But this is Tupac. What is the thing about Tupac that y'all remember? Hit 'em up. The song Hit 'em Up. Hit 'em up is relevant. What else?
Yeah.
It's activism through music. What else? Name me one of the Tupac activist songs.
I was about to say his fight. His fight with
See, but Tupac is the gateway for the young generation to come into hip hop and understand the activism through Tupac. Today, who's that activist? It could be T.I., David Banner, See, okay,
I like David.
Gateway.
I'm going with David. I like
You going with David?
David Banner. What's his name? What's his name? David Banner. Oh, Killer Mike. Killer Mike. Yeah, Killer Mike. Killer Mike. Yeah.
Anyway, I was born here, so I understand what went down here, and then I had to do my research to go back and bring it forward. Y'all were born where?
I'm not even on the. I ain't even on the table. You ain't even got me on the table, bro. Right. Look. Right here. Look. I'm in the doorway. You feel me? For real. This is, you know what I mean? Unfortunately. But then, right.
You went back first to go forward.
Right.
Which is the concept of Sankofa. Standing in the present, always having to go back and fetch your history in order to move forward. Tupac does that. So now it may be Nipsey for some people.
Right.
Now,
yeah, definitely.
Baby here, grow up.
For my generation.
What will be her gateway to come in?
I was born 98.
Right. Dad has to do it.
That's all right. Yeah, but no, I own it.
This little
No, I'm considered Generation Z.
And then pass it
okay,
forward.
don't tell nobody. Don't
So now me, the owner of the bookstore,
right.
already paying her debt, and not necessarily have to pay. She already paid her debt. Now it's up to us to come patronize the bookstore, keep it open, to pay our debt forward to these ladies. You understand what I'm saying? We have to be able to do it. So it's the gateway. Now, when you see Harry Belafonte, and you don't know the history of Harry Belafonte, all right, then you might look at him as just an aging old man. Or what movie was Harry Belafonte in Sidney Poitier? No, not Uptown. The Western movie, Buck and the Preacher. Y'all probably ain't see. I'm aging, but Buck and the Preacher. But you may look at Harry Belafonte as being an actor, singer, precise film, dancer, or whatever. But you talking about activism on a whole different level? I'm talking about a whole different level. When Dr. Martin Luther King was using food stamps, Harry Belafonte didn't find us. You understand what I'm saying? But didn't have to put it on Front Street. We talked about charity yesterday, not being seen by men. Always have to flash your money and give it to somebody in public. No, he did this behind the scenes. He made sure Dr. King's family was straight. How many people we have today that do that? Not many. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to understand activism on a whole different level. And you can start to study that particular activism with this man right here. Hold on. So by the time we enter into this particular era, the embarrassing thing about this, the reason why I have it on the table together, that who was the man that murdered Trayvon Martin? We should know him by his first, middle, and last name.
Right. Nickname and all.
Like the other people say, they'll never forget, we'll never forget. Why? Because blood debts must be paid in blood.
Exactly.
All right, that may be too radical for the moment. Let me tone it down.
The truth is the truth.
Right? So we have to understand the dynamic. But Zimmerman was caught at the gun show signing Trayvon Martin targets. How embarrassing is that? Now, if something would have just automatically just fell out of the ceiling, hit him upside the head, I wouldn't have been mad. But I'm saying, the pain that the black community went through by living out this part of our history, then to have you at the gun show signing Trayvon Martin target with iced tea and Skittles in the hand, that's embarrassing to spit in our face. It goes right back to the lynching picture.
Full
You understand what I'm saying?
Full circle.
So we have to understand it now. Somebody help me out with this. Because we get it when we see stuff like this. And we feel proud and our chest swells up and we see black family living in the White House for what, 8 years. It was a beautiful thing. When we start to read stuff like this, the making of a terrorist, coddling, warmongering, Wall Street loving, socialistic, godless Muslim president. And this is how they describe it.
They went hard.
They went really hard. Hard in paint, for real. You understand what I'm saying? This is how they describe Barack Obama. Now, I'm not sure if y'all see an early picture of Barack Obama, but in this one, he almost totally gray. Right. Shows you what the 8 years did to him. You understand what I'm saying? Because they let him in, he cracked open some of them damn files and figured out what they were doing around the world. You understand? And probably couldn't take it. You understand what I'm saying? I just got this at a party show 3 months ago. NFL died of colon cancer. So that's deep. So when you talk about protests with Harry Belafonte and other protests with Muhammad Ali that spent time in jail, refused to get drafted into the military, and other people protested. John Carlos and Tommy Smith at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. You understand what I'm saying? So when you roll fast forward to Colin Kaepernick, to go to a white gun show, and for me to find this, it's like, wow. It shows you what they really think. Now these are the same people 3-4 miles from me out in the country where they live, riding around with this one on the bumper sticker. You understand what I'm saying? But we turn a blind eye and act like we don't see it, except you. All right. Last but not least, the reason why I have this tassel with pins on it because I have the pin at the table because I can't have it stolen. White gun show. Now, whether love or hate, nonetheless, it kept disappearing. You understand what I'm saying? So when asked the question, when was Make America Great? The question becomes now, when was America ever great? You understand what I'm saying? So she said before it was America.
Right. Right.
So you can read the book by Ivan Van Sertima, before they came before Columbus. Mia.
Yeah, she got it.
You got the book They Came Before Columbus? Yes. Okay.
Oh, my
We have
bad.
to dive into the book to see what was going on before Columbus came. And then what part of history can they actually say make America great? And then what do they mean by great? If you look great up in the dictionary, it don't mean good. It means large, it means massive, but it don't mean good. So when was America great is the question that we need to ask. But the meaning
That
of
was
what's
for
happening
people.
on the table, it invokes this fear, this anger, this hatred, and this violence from white people. It speaks volumes.
Get that?
You understand somebody else talking about acne, man. Can you imagine a napkin-headed ass afro? Some locks, some dreads, the way you walk, the way you talk, some beautiful thick lips that we have. Exactly. But a lot of people don't recognize it as such. So they came before Columbus. Now it's actually this young man's duty to make sure this information ends up in her curriculum. Our responsibility to make sure our children get a hold of it or have access to it. All right? The kids got to get it to the parents. Exactly. Well,
Say that again. Say that again.
Some of us know that we're responsible to make sure our mamas know.
Right.
My mama didn't tell me, she didn't know.
I feel that.
I can't just find out and keep going.
Right.
I got to double back to my elders.
Ooh.
Right.
I do. I got to double back to my elders.
That's critical. That's the first time I heard that. Sometimes.
Now,
Kids don't want to listen to their elders.
Do you have children?
The piece to that.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay.
But
I
I
say it
was
to
mother
say.
the elders.
Right. But the thing is, you're right. But our children, like you said, you're the child. Your mama will get it. You don't have to get it from me. Make sure you got it. No, wait, she'll get it.
You sure though? Because this mother today, she's talking.
I'm not saying you don't tell her. She's gonna see it. She's gonna see it in you. She's gonna come to you. But you're gonna start reading it, right? You're gonna read more. We all come, even though we
But you know,
come.
I understand what she's saying because I run into them same moms that she's talking about that you literally have to sit them down like they students. You understand? No. If you haven't really experienced it, it's very difficult to try to have that conversation. But you got to sit down with them moms, like she said, that ain't gonna get it. They're not checking for it.
And
It's almost like you got to put mom on the breast.
And she's begging you for it.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as she's coming for it, I got it. That's a blessing. She asked me for it, that's a blessing.
That's a balance to what both of you all are saying, though.
That's what I was saying. Both need it regardless. But she won't it from you. That's good. That's good. As long as she won't it from you, that's good. That's good. No, that's good.
But anyway, thank y'all for listening. I really appreciate it. Y'all been very, very beautiful audience. And my wife will tell you, a lot of times these kind of talks are a struggle for me, but y'all are there already.
Yeah.
Really, I'm sure y'all already know that. You understand what I'm saying? And we want to thank Nia and Medu Bookstore for at least having the wherewithal to set up one last question. Who is Carter G. Woodson? Carter G. Woodson.
Oh, that name.
Miseducation of the Negro World. Black History Week was Negro History Week. Black History Month.
That's good though.
First thing I take it back. It's a regular, normal calendar that you could pick up in the bookstore or wherever. Sometimes they're in a big box at Walmart for free or $2. But we have to know that none of this, we wouldn't be studying idiots. She wouldn't have the knowledge that she had and wanted to pass it on to her mother if it wasn't for this man. We gotta read The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. He's the one that set all of this in motion in Negro History Week. Negroes in the set it in motion. It morphed into Black History Month, sandwiched between Frederick Douglass' birthday and Abraham Lincoln. You understand what I'm saying? But we gotta take it and move it forward. We got to move it from February to August when it's hot. It's hot as hell today. And this is June. We got to move it to August. We can make it every month. Exactly. Well, that's what we're going to have to do. But thank you all very much. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Woo!
My body says so. Like, didn't I just get this from something? I don't know. It's just something I picked up. I saw it online. But it's, I know, I've seen it like.
You good.
Yeah, I see it like ancient.
Right.
You wanna say something to the people before we sign off with it?
I'm sorry about that, y'all.
Forgot y'all was even
Carried
here.
away. But we need to talk to that sister because she is
Yeah.
she got to teach your mama.
Yeah, that's real. I feel that. I feel that.
Man.
I
But this
feel that.
Professor Griff, Sirius Mindz. She gonna go talk to that sister. We gonna sign out.
PC. Sister, can I get you to speak on his live a little bit? Just about what you just said about teaching the elders,
Well,
because
no,
we
I
don't
was
think
just
about
saying
that.
that a lot of times as young people, we relied on the elders and we were taught. And they were saying, obey those that rule over you. And they had even scriptures that they would use to make us comply with what they were teaching us. But a lot of times, they had a lot of spiritual pride that wouldn't allow them to confess that I'm teaching you wrong. I told you something that I was told that I passed on from my elders to you, and I fed you wrong. So I want to undo what I taught you, and I want to replace that with the right knowledge. We don't have those moments or opportunities very often as young people. So I think it's the duty of every young person of color to go out there and find out things like today, the information we got, so that we can go in time to take it back to the younger people, as well as those who are older than us. You might be 30, and it might be a person that's 40. They might need to hear from you. That 40-year-old may have never heard the information you know at 30. But the reality is you want to take that thing and you want to run with it and you want to go and take that back to the elders who may not know because they've been forgotten about in the nursing homes. They've been forgotten about in low-income housing. We have investors willing them right out of their houses, taking their land. And then what are we doing as young people? Turning up every weekend. We're not concerned with grandma. We're not concerned with mama. We're not concerned with daddy. And I think that we should overlook the fact that maybe they don't think we can do anything right around here. Maybe they think we don't know our age from the hole in the ground. But the reality is we're smart, we're witty, we can come up with inventions, we can buy and sell, we can go get land if we want, we can do what we want. Go out and make this happen and then go take it right back to our elders, show them where they fit in the thing, help them with their paperwork the way they helped you when you couldn't even read.